What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be reacting to hoophypes.com top 10 centers in the league and whether or not Nikola Vucevic deserves to be in that top 10 position or not. Now, at the end of the day, I believe I made a video very similar to this about the shooting guard position, in which Zach LaVine actually ranked 4th in all of the shooting guards on that list. Today we've got a bit of an interesting one, as Nikola Vucevic actually did not make hoophypes.com top 10 centers in the NBA. And we're going to look at the top 10 centers. We're going to discuss whether or not Nikola Vucevic has a conversation there to be one of those top 10 centers in the NBA. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to The Bull Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about whether or not you believe Nikola Vucevic is a top 10 center. Also, who would he replace in this list? Because I've seen this list, ladies and gentlemen. I will discuss this list as well. And I've got to say, there are a couple of guys in there that I find very interesting, and I would probably consider putting Nikola Vucevic over those guys. It's a bit of an interesting conversation, I can't lie. But let's look at the top 10 centers of the NBA according to hoophypes.com. So you obviously got the standard from 1 all the way to 10. 1 being Nikola Jokic. Then the next one being Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, DeAndre Ayton, Jared Allen, Domantas Sabonis, Robert Williams, Jonas Valanciunas, and Miles Turner. Those are considered the top 10 centers in the NBA according to hoophypes.com. Now, probably 1 until 6, I probably wouldn't necessarily have a really hard time saying, yeah, they're probably better than Nikola Vucevic. Jared Allen is probably one maybe people can have a conversation about, but Jared Allen is probably one of the best defensive centers in the NBA, right next to all the guys above him as well. And I think he's one of the big reasons why Cleveland is so successful at how they play and why I think they're going to be very good next year. Also, you look at Domantas Sabonis. I think Domantas Sabonis probably has had a better season than Nikola Vucevic. I wouldn't necessarily say overall in his entire career he's been better than Nikola Vucevic, because Nikola Vucevic has had seasons where he's averaged 24 and 11 when he was being the number 1 option. Domantas Sabonis has normally been the number 1 option on his team from Indiana to Sacramento, and he's averaging around 20 points per game. So Vucevic has a conversation there, in my opinion, compared to Domantas Sabonis. But for now, I'll just say that's not really the worst one here. Robert Williams. This is an interesting one now, ladies and gentlemen. Robert Williams from the Boston Celtics. Now, I can kind of see why they would put Robert Williams in this sort of situation. For instance, he's obviously made the NBA Finals. He was a big part of the NBA playoffs and how the Boston Celtics succeeded. He's a very good defensive player. He's only 6'8", but he's a very good shot blocker, and I understand all that. But if you're talking about the pure all-around game of basketball, I do not think Robert Williams is better than Nikola Vucevic. I think he's better impactful on the defensive end. I think he suits the Boston Celtics, and I think he suits the small ball center position to a T. And he's great at what he does. But if you're talking about who's the better player, I don't think Robert Williams is better than Nikola Vucevic. In my whole heart, I really believe that. That's not to say that he can't be. He's only 24 years old. He's got the world ahead of him, and he could really develop into a very solid, really one of the best defensive centers out there if he isn't that already. But he could also develop into a very good offensive player if he goes a little bit beyond just the alley-oop side of the thing, because that's where he gets all of his opportunities, to be honest. But I don't think he's better than Nikola Vucevic. I don't think offensively he's nowhere near Nikola Vucevic. Even on the playmaking, even on the rebounding side, he's not better than Nikola Vucevic. But defensively, of course, I think Robert Williams is one of those guys. He's one of those tough guys, and he can really do a job for the Boston Celtics, and that's why they made the NBA Finals. I can kind of see it, but I don't agree with it whatsoever. You're looking at Valanciunas. I think Valanciunas and Nikola Vucevic are pretty much very identical players. I think Jonas Valanciunas is a little bit more physical, and I think that's really only the difference. So I can understand why you put Jonas Valanciunas in here. And you guys already know how I feel about Miles Turner. If you haven't, I made a video comparing the two, comparing Nikola Vucevic, comparing Miles Turner. I went in depth about that. I went in depth about how their offensive and defensive games play. I went in depth about the defensive ratings. I went in depth about the offense as well. Everything. I talked a lot between those two players. And in my conclusion, I thought Nikola Vucevic is the better player, but Miles Turner better fits the Chicago Bulls. And he's also 26 years old. So unless age has something to do with these types of situations, which again, why is Rudy Gobert in that situation then? Because he's a great center. He's above 30, I think. So I don't think age is the issue. Why is, and Jonas Valanciunas is 30 as well, why is Nikola Vucevic not considered a top 10 center? Is it because he had a down year? If he's down year 17.6 points and 11 rebounds, that's better than most of the centers here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it's that. I honestly just don't know if they really consider Nikola Vucevic. Maybe he's 11th on this list, but in my opinion, there are two players there that I really consider putting Nikola Vucevic over. One of them is Robert Williams, and the other one is Miles Turner. I think Valanciunas stays, to be honest. I think he's a very good center, and he has very good capabilities offensively and defensively. I'm very, very shocked at the fact that this is, I guess, Nikola Vucevic was not considered a top 10 center. Even in his worst year for a long, long time, he's still, in my opinion, one of the top 10 centers in the NBA, and I don't think it's even a conversation. But you're talking to a Bulls fan. I've got the Bulls jersey on, ladies and gentlemen. Of course I would think that about Nikola Vucevic. So maybe that's my bias kicking in. Maybe that's me just looking at one side of things and looking at Nikola Vucevic, knowing what he can do on the floor, and me still believing it's a top 10 center. Maybe it's me believing and me being optimistic that he could be better next year. He looks a little bit slimmer as well. If you've seen recent photos, he'll be more quicker, agile, hopefully more mobile, and maybe he'll be a much better player next year. Maybe I'm just hoping for all these things, but he's only had one bad year, ladies and gentlemen, and all of a sudden he's not a top 10 center anymore. I'm pretty sure he was beating most of these guys in double-doubles, and his defensive rating is not as bad as people like to make it out to be. Yes, he's not the best defender, we all know that, but he's not as bad as people say he is either. So, unfortunately, I think Nikola Vucevic is one of those type of players that, again, a lot of people talked about. Media talked about him, obviously fans talked about him, and everybody around the NBA talked about him, and they knew that he was having a bad season compared to his standards, and he took the hit. That's honestly what I feel like happened, because as I said, I don't think he's better. I think he's better than Miles Turner, and I think Robert Williams, I think it's too soon for him to be considered a top 10 center in the NBA. He's a great center. He obviously, more times in the NBA Finals, more time in the playoffs, more development in his game. He's still only 24. Maybe he can be considered a top 10 center very soon. I don't think he deserves to be there now. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, Bulls bias, whatever you want to call it. I like Robert Williams a lot, and I've been wrong about him before. I said Mitchell Robinson was better than Robert Williams. I'm not so sure about that now, to be honest. I think that's a much deeper conversation, but look, I just don't think he's top 10 right now. I think Vucevic, even at the age of 31 or 32, however old he is, I still think he deserves to be in that conversation. So this might be the first one where I actually disagree with the top 10 list. I agreed with Zach LaVine being 4th. I argued he could be higher, but being 4th, in my opinion, was a good spot for Zach LaVine, because he's not the best shooting guard in the league, but he's definitely not, I guess, bottom category. He's not 10th. He's not 8th. He's higher than that as well. So I agreed with 4th. I can accept 4th. I think Vucevic should be a top 10 center. And maybe this is the motivation for him to prove people wrong. He's going to have to prove a lot of people wrong. And if he does prove a lot of people wrong, then most people will have that changed opinion, and they'd want Nikola Vucevic on the Chicago Bulls. And that's what I'm hoping will happen. So, am I going to lose sleep over this? No. I've complained. I've stated my case. I think he's better than 2 players on this list. And we'll wait and see what the outcome will be next season. And hopefully he'll have that great season that can prove a lot of people that 1, he's still a top quality center. 2, he's a top 10 center in this league. And 3, he's better than a couple of the other guys that are already on this list. It's up to him, ladies and gentlemen. If he really wants to take that as motivation, grab it, use it as motivation, and let's have a good season, and let's hope he's part of it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully enjoyed the video. I'll see you in another video, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.